Well, folks, Representative Jasmine Crockett, who's eyeing the Texas Senate seat, seems to be doing her best to sabotage her own career with some truly unhinged rhetoric. She went off the rails, melting down into what can only be called an insane rage fest, and she's drawing utterly inappropriate comparisons between ICE officers and groups like the KKK and slave patrols. But first, please do us a favor and like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to get more doses of the truth like these. Your support really helps this channel and is greatly appreciated. Now let's roll the tape.
I'm gonna just call a thing a thing. Like, this administration is racist. That he has always been a racist, and that is what we are enduring in this country. Let me give you some facts behind this racism. And they get mad when I say the things that I say, but I will not stop speaking the truth. Number one, I said that what we were experiencing in this country felt like what I would imagine slave patrols to look like. And frankly, anybody that knows anything about slave patrols, this is exactly what it was like. We're talking about lawless people that are going around with no warrants or anything, and it's all about rounding people up and disappearing them. That is what's currently taking place. And interestingly enough, even though modern day policing was born out of slave patrols, when I was speaking with one of my friends who is a federal law enforcement officer, he told me that one of the things that he has observed is that the culture is created at the top. And when I think about it, it absolutely makes sense. If you have somebody at the top that will not tolerate the types of things that we're seeing, then maybe those under you won't do it. But we know that we have a racist at the top. He has called himself the head law enforcement agent in this country, and therefore everybody has decided that it is okay to take off their hoods and mask up as ICE agents. Now, we've talked about how they have hidden themselves, but again, it reminds me of the Klan. That is why I proposed the Clear ID Act, to make them identify themselves, because it is dangerous for law enforcement as well as individuals, because you don't know, especially with ICE going around and doing the things that thugs do. They're busting out windows, they're breaking into homes, they're breaking people's arms. This doesn't sound like law enforcement. It sounds like thuggery to me.
Seriously? Comparing federal law enforcement agents who are simply executing immigration law as it has existed under administrations of both parties to domestic terror groups is not just hyperbolic, it's flat out reckless and dangerous. The reality check here is that ICE officers are enforcing U.S. law. If you are in the United States illegally, you are subject to deportation. Period. This is not some unique, cruel policy invented today. It's a standard operating procedure for every sovereign nation on earth, including Mexico and other Latin American countries. To suggest that arresting and deporting people who have violated immigration laws is comparable to the KKK or the brutality of the Third Reich is not just absurd, it's insulting to the victims of those horrors themselves. In this desperate play, Crockett argues that she's seeing lawless people and thuggery where ICE agents are busting out windows and breaking into homes. She sees this as evidence that racists at the top are letting agents take off their hoods and mask up as ICE agents. This kind of rhetoric is classic political desperation. When the facts don't back up your open borders agenda, you resort to character assassination and shock value. Let's also keep in mind that many ICE agents are non-white. Not sure they would get through that KKK application process, Crockett. She even proposes the Clear ID Act because she thinks ICE agents are hiding. But in reality, what many Democrats like her don't seem to understand is that ICE agents and their families are subject to violence and death threats on a daily basis. There's even been ICE tracking apps and doxing efforts on ICE agents. But as we all know, this isn't Jasmine Crockett's first insane, unhinged tirade on the House floor using racism to desperately try to hold on to her district seat as Texas redistricts. This next video highlights exactly what we're talking about, and we've even kept in the response from Texas Representative Katrina Pearson, who calls out and dismantles Crockett's race-baiting attempt.
This map does nothing but divide, distract, and depress. There is this idea that was put out there during his opening remarks that this does so much for Black folk. Well, let me tell you, as a Black person, it does not. let me tell you that in this map, to be clear, y'all added you added two additional Anglo majority seats. Now, when we went through the 21 maps, you added two Anglo majority seats, and now you're adding two more Anglo majority seats. And then you've decided that you are going to pack and crack, and that is the language that I am going to use because that is the legal language. And I also just want to remind y'all really quickly that it does not look good when you take every economic engine out of my district and then tell me that I am supposed to sit here and be so happy because you added Black folk from a whole other community. When you want to talk about monoliths and whether or not they exist, this idea that you just take people and move them around. I have 200,000 people who were never in my district, and my district is 766,000. Playing move minorities around so that you can somehow claim that this is nothing but partisanship. The only way that you get here is by making sure that you trample upon the rights and the liberties and the voices of minorities. So let me give you a few facts about the state of Texas. The state of Texas only has 39% Anglos, yet somehow under this map, we are going to have somewhere near 60 something, almost 70% of these seats are going to be chosen by Anglos. If we were looking for fairness and to follow the Voting Rights Act, you'd have 15 Latino opportunity seats, 15 Anglo seats. You then have 4 African American opportunity seats. Then you'd have 2 Asian opportunity seats, and the other 2 seats would belong to coalitions because we are a majority minority state where over 60% of this population is people of color. So if you want to do what's fair and right under the Voting Rights Act, as well as if you say that this Fifth Circuit Court case matters and somehow changes everything, my question to you is, when are y'all gonna do y'all's maps? Because you did your maps in 2021 and then the case came out, and I haven't seen y'all talk about the fact that you're gonna redistrict the House and the Senate.
Representative Pearson, you recognize the question to panel.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is for Congresswoman Crockett. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your thoughts on the map. I hear you, I understand. But you did mention something in your testimony that I think is worth drawing out a little bit on. You mentioned previously the 2 Anglo seats from before.
Yes.
Who are currently in those seats?
One of them is Lloyd Doggett, and the other one is Wesley Hunt.
And does that mean one is a Democrat seat and one is a Republican seat?
Correct.
Okay. So the Democrat seat elected a white man.
Yes.
And the Republican seat elected a Black man.
Yes.
Okay. And then so today you're concerned about the new Anglo seats, and the assumption that you're making is that it's going to lead to more Anglo representation.
It is.
Okay.
Because so to be clear, because I may have not been clear, these seats are not about who gets elected. They're about who gets to choose who is elected. And so, my district, while it is an African American opportunity seat, it is an opportunity for African Americans to choose their representation. But they don't have to elect a Black person. We have a similar seat in Memphis, Tennessee, that historically was always represented by the Ford family. Harold Ford Sr. and Harold Ford Jr. had it, but now it is a white man that is representing that Black seat. So it's not about the faces of the seats. It's about who gets to choose who's in the seat. And that doesn't mean that they're going to choose their own race. As you see, 2 Anglo majority seats, one went for a white candidate, one went for a Black candidate. It's not about us as candidates. It's about the people that get to do the choosing.
Well, I would argue that based on the testimony that we've heard over the last week or so, it's both. We're hearing racism all over the place. We're hearing, people want to choose people who look like them, which apparently has been happening. And I just wanted to make it clear that, something that has not been said yet is that there are minority Republicans. I mean, there is a Black and Hispanic Republican on the dais. And so I just don't think it's fair to just assume that the Anglo districts are going to lead to more Anglo representation.
But
those were your words, so I'm just...
Again, I apologize if that is how it was interpreted, but my clarification is that when we're talking about the law and the Voting Rights Act, it's never been based upon who it is that gets elected. It's based upon who it is that gets to choose who is elected.
And so on that note, with these new lines, political performance was taken in consideration.
That is what we've heard from the bill author, yes.
And in previous hearings, I mentioned specifically that in the state of Texas, President Trump did win a majority of the Hispanic voters in the state. And just to broaden that even further, I mean, those are the numbers. President Trump did win the majority of the Hispanic votes in the state. In fact, he flipped, I believe it was 10 counties in the state. So don't you think that is reflective of this map, this proposed map, that the minorities who are here with the new minority districts that have been created, it is reflective?
No, Representative, I don't.
And so you don't agree with the new minority Hispanic seats? Because
I don't agree with this map.
Okay, thank you.
As Representative Pearson states, there are Republican minorities too, and they are free to vote for whomever would best help them with their communities, not who quote-unquote looks like them. As was also pointed out, President Trump won the majority of Hispanic votes in Texas in his 2024 presidential run. At the end, all she can say is that she just doesn't agree for the sake of not agreeing. And I think we all know why she doesn't agree. And while Crockett claims she is quote-unquote speaking the truth, what we're really watching is a politician who is full of sound and fury, trying to make a name for herself by tossing political grenades. She's only really blowing up herself. She might think she's a truth teller, but for most of us, this looks like a guaranteed way to ensure her political career goes out with a spectacular, self-inflicted bang. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.